Arsenal are reportedly very interested in signing Brentford goalkeeper David Raya, but they already have a goalkeeper at home, and he's very good. So what's really going on here? Well, the main reason for the link is Arsenal's goalkeeping coach Iñaki Caña, as in, can you believe it? Because David Raya is his protege and Caña is his mentor, and they work together at Brentford. And basically, any time that Arsenal have wanted to sign a new goalkeeper and they've looked around, Raya's name has come up in their search. And Raya only has 12 months left on his contract, so he's sort of available, even though it costs a lot of money. Thomas Frank has said he was the 4th best goalkeeper in the league according to their numbers, so you'd think maybe 40-50 million minimum, which is quite a lot. And if he were to come in, obviously he would compete for the #1 position, so you'd have 2 very good players going for this one place, which would mean they'd have to get rid of the current second choice goalkeeper Matt Turner, who plays for the United States at international level. Now, of course, Turner wouldn't want to then completely lose access to playing first team games because he wants to play for his country, so maybe he'd have to go, but who would take him on? And also, Ramsdale just signed a new long-term deal quite recently, so financially it doesn't make a lot of sense having 2 players on big money going for the same position. So, are Arsenal really looking to try and drive competition for that goalkeeper #1 slot, or are they secretly trying to replace Aaron Ramsdale with an improved player? Is that what they're trying to do? Well, let's look at Aaron Ramsdale's performances last season for Arsenal and how he profiles. And this is how he profiles. You can see it here. Now, it's all right. He's quite good. He excels here at average length of goal kicks. That's good. 83rd percentile. Lots of stuff. Kind of low. But he is a good goalkeeper, so we know that for certain. And you remember that when Ramsdale came into Arsenal a couple of seasons ago to replace Bernd Leno, he made an immediate difference in how calm and composed he was in possession to help with build-up play. That's the important bit. But of course, goalkeeping is also about stopping the ball going into your own goal. That's why they keep the goal. And Ramsdale is kind of average at it. He's good. He's a good level Premier League player, and you can see his goals prevented puts him kind of mid-table in the Premier League list of goalkeepers from the last 2 seasons. So he's Premier League average, which is obviously really good. That's a very high level. But Arteta wants the best. And if we look at Ramsdale here, we can compare him to David Raya's stats. Well, it's a lot more green here, isn't there? A lot more green happening on this page. And the thing is that although Ramsdale did help Arsenal get into the style of play that they're playing and immediately improved them, the statistics show that he's not quite as good as some other goalkeepers. He is good, but he's not at the absolute elite. And we can see it in the data. When we look at this lovely table, what we see is that stylistically, David Raya tends to catch the ball more than he punches it, certainly more than what Ramsdale does. Another thing we see is that Raya faces a far higher volume of shots on his goal because he plays for Brentford, not Arsenal. So that kind of makes a lot of sense. But his save percentage is even higher. So if you look at this from 2 seasons ago, Raya's better than Ramsdale at these saves. Then you've got the save percentage here from last season. But maybe they're facing different kinds of chances and higher volumes and quality of chances. So we look at expected goals against. Now, expected goals against is before the shot is taken. So that number applies to before the striker hits the ball. You can tell how big of a chance it is. And we can see here that Raya this season has outperformed his goals conceded by quite a big number, whereas Ramsdale's round about where he is. That's why he's kind of average. He's round about where you expect him to be. And then we see Aaron Ramsdale is slightly under 2 seasons ago as well. He's conceded 39 goals compared to an XG of 36.86, whereas Raya is slightly overperforming. So another big win for David Raya there. But if we apply the expected goals model to expected goals on target, then what we see is that David Raya is outperforming him by quite a lot, and in terms of goals prevented as well. So David Raya comes out 4th on this list of goals prevented from the last 2 seasons in the Premier League. Now, a couple of things that are kind of weird with this data and these numbers, as you'll notice, is that Kepa is quite high, which is odd because I don't think it was being that good. And also Bernd Leno, who Arteta basically drove to Fulham himself, is way up top in 2nd with 11.9 goals prevented for Fulham last season. Then you've also got Ederson way down at the bottom. So how much do we really trust these numbers? Do they really matter? Well, the point is that Ramsdale is basically kind of statistically average and has good distribution. He suits Arsenal stylistically and he's a good performer. But as we've established, Mikel Arteta wants the absolute best because he wants to win things, and to win things you have to be the very best. Now, Ramsdale has a good starting point to build from, but in order to be part of Arteta's plans, he has to keep showing signs of improvement, and he hasn't really done that. But what we see is that Ramsdale tends to have dips and peaks during the season, but the dips come at the bad part, the end part of the season. Now, you remember that last season Arsenal were doing pretty well, and they almost won the league. But when the pressure really came on, Ramsdale's performances dipped, and you can see it in the data here. So we're kind of hypothesizing, kind of speculating here, and there's other factors at play, but the data shows that Ramsdale did start performing slightly worse at shot stopping towards the end of the season, in the pressure point of the season. And obviously that's very important to Arteta to get over the line. You got to have the right mentality, and that's something that's not very useful for you. And also we can see, if we look back, some mistakes that crept into Ramsdale's game towards the end of the season in that pressure point. Like for example, you'll recall that they were 2-0 up at Liverpool and drew 2-2 in this crucial part of the title run-in when City were starting to creep up on them. And then they had a game against West Ham, 2-0 up, ended up drawing 2-2. That's also bad. And then Southampton, Southampton came to the Emirates, and then what you had is within 22 seconds, Aaron Ramsdale makes this pass. This player's waiting for it. He jumps in as soon as the pass is coming. There's no wait on the pass, jumps in, and Southampton take the lead after 23 seconds. So straight away, you're kind of worrying about how much you can rely on this goalkeeper in these positions. The thing he was good and reliable at before has become a bit of a weakness in this high pressure environment. And then came the big match against Manchester City, the real title crunch. If they lost that, there was absolutely no hope of winning the league, and of course they lost 4-1. So what you had here was De Bruyne breaking away early in the match, taking a shot, and what looks to me, so I thought this looked like, Ramsdale showing too much of the goal to this side, and that's how De Bruyne was able to just bend it around him into the bottom corner. Maybe he's too slow, but I'm not a goalkeeper coach, I don't know anything about that, so maybe that's not for me to decide. And so I asked my friend, who is a goalkeeper coach of UEFA B licence level, so that's going to be someone who knows what he's talking about. And he took it apart for me. He said, well, the starting position is okay, and you can see this reverse angle shows it a lot differently from where he looked in the original picture. So starting position is okay. He's a bit too low in set position in my opinion, so when he's ready to spring where he's going to go. Then he's got here, he does cover his own goal, but didn't step left to get diving shape. So what he's trying to say here in his text talk is that he's not gone to the left with the ball to make sure he can go off his strong foot to bounce and get the ball. He also says it's a technical mistake rather than tactical. It's not positional, it's technique. That's what's let him down in that position. And so I thought that was very interesting. Let's ask him about another goal in that same game, because later in that game, Erling Haaland scored the fourth when he had his hair loose. It was pretty cool, it looked like He-Man or something at the time. And you'll remember that the ball comes over, Haaland takes a shot, and maybe Ramsdale's thinking he's going to absolutely blast this into the top corner, but instead he places it low, kind of where Ramsdale actually is. You can kind of see it here. This is where the ball goes, it's next to his hand, but he doesn't save it, he doesn't stop it, there's not much power in it, the ball goes to the back of the net. And so again I asked this UEFA B licensed goalkeeping coach to tell me what he thought about it, and he says distances are okay, so where he's positioned is all good and how far he is, but he's very low. Kind of looks like he was caught between a hand or a foot save, and that's a big step, this bit here, for a collapse dive. His right leg needs to be out the way to get lower quicker. So not my words, the words of someone who knows what they're talking about. So anyway, again, it's a technical point, not a tactical one, so something you can probably be coached in and get better at, but we know that Arteta wants to be the best right now. And so the question is there enough here to suggest that Arteta wants to replace Ramsdale because Raya is better? Well, it's important to remember that Ramsdale is young, he's 25, so it's young for a goalkeeper, and so he can improve. And how do you improve? With coaching and maturity and probably competition. So you bring someone in like Raya and you've got competition for places, that's very relevant. But then if you're going to get coached, it's going to be by the goalkeeping coach, who is a big fan of David Raya. And he's a big fan of David Raya not only because of his shot stopping and how he deals with that, but also how he plays with the ball. And he's a different kind of distribution to Ramsdale. Now we know that Ramsdale changed the way Arsenal could play from the back and made a big difference to them when he comes in. And as he said, he's a really good goalkeeper, he's good at playing with the ball. But most of his passes tend to come in here. Now this could be because the manager has instructed this. And this sort of passing range means that Arsenal can build in control from the back and get into the shape the way they want. It's positional kind of play that Arteta uses. And then we look at David Raya, and what we see is a far more varied collection of passes, particularly long passes. Now Brentford do focus most of their play on the left side, they've always done that. And they also have Ivan Toney, who shifts over to this side, takes the ball down and they play from there. And then you've got players overlapping on this left. Rico Henry is very important to them, but a lot of their play comes down the left. But Raya is absolutely integral to how they play. He also takes a lot of their free kicks. He even takes free kicks in the opposition half. Basically, Raya is encouraged to do more with the ball, possibly because he can, but maybe it's a different manager. What we might see is if Ramsdale went to Brentford, maybe he'd have a similar sort of looking map. But we know that Raya is better with his long passing and his short. He's a better distributor. In fact, Jurgen Klopp laughed at how good he actually was in a 3-3 draw against Brentford last September when he said the goalkeeper could wear the number 10 shirt. Good joke, Jurgen! He has sent several incredible balls, exactly what you should do when you play against us. Klopp loved his incredible balls, and that's what you get from David Raya as a player who has excellent distribution and becomes an extra playmaker. Not only good shot stopper, but gives you an extra little X factor that could really make the difference, especially when you're competing at the elite. Arteta wants the best. And the idea is that if Ramsdale is a good player, but needs to be a next level to get there, one of the ways that might drive that is having a real competition for places. Of course, they've got more games next season, Champions League, all the cups. Pre-season seems to count as actual games now, so you have to have lots of players for all the positions. Ramsdale's been settled, no real threat from Matt Turner. Raya would completely change that and make sure both are competing for that same position. So the final question is, would David Raya make Arsenal better? Is that why they want him? Well, we know that he might make Ramsdale better, because if he comes in here, he might give him competition for places and improve both. He's a good goalkeeper, he suits him stylistically, kind of works, but Raya might just be a little bit better at both those things. And when you're looking for just tiny margins of gain, maybe the goalkeeper position is one where Arteta can see a way to improve his team even just a little bit, and those small bits of gain are how you start competing genuinely for the big prizes. So they're both good, perhaps one is better than the other, that's for you to decide, and also Arteta, because he seems to be in a real rush to make his team as best as they possibly can be.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.